160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley, with convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut. Visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Give me a second.
There it is. There it is.
Holy cow.
Good
I gotta
morning.
switch things around here.
There it is. Okay. I have a very weird background here.
Yeah, that was the video of downtown that doesn't pop up anymore because it's changed over. Give me a minute.
Okay. Well,
And
anyway.
I gotta switch this.
Well,
and, yeah.
there we go. Except that my...
Oh, I know. I gotta fix that too.
Okay. Pete's doing some techie stuff.
There's all kinds of problems right now.
That's okay. While he does that, I will let you know that it is 6:02. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses. I feel like a cartoon, Pete, because I'm watching myself. There we go. Okay, we're getting there.
Yeah.
And WCPZ Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm trying to wake up over here. And Pete is doing strange things. I've now completely disappeared, and here I come back again on the screen. So, and there I've moved over, and there we go.
I got all kinds of crazy things going on.
Okay, that's all right. Well, while Pete does all of that, I will tell you that it is Wednesday, April 13th, so we're already kind of almost halfway through the month of April, which is hard to believe. We are in the middle of Holy Week, so for those of you who, and I know Bob Plass did all kinds of was honoring all kinds of religions on his show yesterday because we've got all kinds of stuff going on this week. But lots of doings, and the weather is going to be decent. Today we're supposed to have a beautiful day. Tomorrow, I understand, cloudy, maybe some showers, but definitely warm. Oh, there we go. We have the sun up behind us. And it's actually pretty nice out now. It's in the 40s, but it will warm up. We have brown bag this morning, so I will be ducking out just a couple minutes early today. But for those of you that participate in the brown bag program, we'll be doing brown bag distribution this morning between 9 and 10 at the senior center. Please be respectful of that time frame, and most people are really great about that. So thank you for that. So while Pete does all of his magic over there, how's it going, Pete?
For some reason, you're really big.
I'm big?
Yeah, like the image. I gotta.
Okay, all right.
I'm getting there.
Pete's working on it. So while he's doing that, I will share with you that I was invited by Councillor Morganelli last night. He had a Ward 1 meeting. So it was kind of an open meeting for members of Ward 1, for residents who live in Ward 1. And I have to say, and he invited all of the department heads to either attend or to, provide information. He had tables set up around the periphery of the room.
Yep.
And I have to say, it was very well attended. I bet there were about 75 people there. And, of course, when you do something like that, you don't know. You could get 4 people, or you could get 40 people, or you could get 400 people, I guess. So, but I thought it was a really nice crowd, and I'm sure he was pleased with the attendance. So that was pretty wonderful. I keep going on and off there.
You're like,
sort of, but I'm still doing this animated. I look like
I don't know why that card's doing
thing. Yeah, that's a little strange. Well, we'll try to figure that out. Well, Pete will try to figure that out. I won't. I have no idea what's going on and why.
I think it's the video card is doing, because I'm doing it too. I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah, you're doing it's. We look very weird and animated.
Yes. The video card is not happy right now.
Yeah. All right. So we'll try to figure that out at the break. But anyway, there was nice representation. Honest to God, there was wonderful representation from the Westfield Police Department last night at this meeting. And I was joking around with them, and I said, there must be 4 people robbing banks in downtown because most of the police department was up at this meeting with Ward 1. But it was a very nice representation. I actually had explained to Councilor Morganelli that I would be not staying for the whole thing because it's my early morning to get up this morning. So I left actually before the police department did their little presentation. We each kind of said a few words. The airport was represented, fire department was represented. I was there, and police department, and then a lot of the other departments had sent in information. So there were tables for the health department and the city clerk and the mayor's office and Veterans Affairs. And so it was, I thought it was really great. And I think, I
was going to go, but I had 2 meetings I had to do last night.
Yeah, it was, I know it's always like that, right? All these meetings and stuff. But anyway, it was great. It was great to see people. And it was heartening that people, came out and that they cared enough about their community and their neighborhoods. And I think Nick actually, which I learned this last night, I think Nick has sort of neighborhood captains that he, that he's just trying to engage and just trying to get a feel for what his constituents are concerned about. And so hats off to him, because I think that's really great. And it took a lot of coordination for this event. And these things don't just happen. I think that people need to understand that. Nick had gotten the emails out to all of us, and then did follow up on, and we were all different. Some people said, I can't be at the meeting, but I'll send information. So he had to go around and collect all that and set it all up. So anyway, very, very heartening for the people in Ward 1. And I hope that, I know that some of the other city councilors do that as well, but I liked the idea that Councilor Morganelli invited the department heads, to be honest with you. I think it gave us an opportunity to connect one-on-one as people were coming in, and just gave us an opportunity to say a few words, so, make some announcements and so forth. So all good. So, Pete, you had 2 meetings last night. What did you have going on?
I had Board of Public Works.
Okay.
And I had Conservation Commission.
Okay. Conservation, always a good time, right? How long did that one go till?
Conservation was about 2 hours.
Yep. And then
Board of Public Works was easy. That was about half an hour.
Okay. Yeah. We love those kind of meetings.
Yeah, they weren't too bad.
That's great. And did you have to be somewhere, or were you able to do those from your home?
No, both those were at home. Today is going to be crazy because
what's going on
the Franklin
today?
Avenue School Building Committee is meeting in person at Franklin Avenue. So I have Kenny working that one because now he's on the payroll.
Yay.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Yes.
But I got to go set it up because he can't do it. And then I have 2 meetings simultaneously at 6. One is Park and Rec. They have a subcommittee about all the properties. And I don't know what the other... Oh, Board of Health is the other one.
Oh, that's right. Board of Health, second Wednesday of the month.
Right.
Yeah.
So, a little busy.
Yeah, it is a little busy.
Just a tad.
Yeah, a little busy. All right. Well, let's do a famous birthday. We're in the middle of all this meeting stuff and trying to figure out why we still look like animated characters here on TV.
I think I got to do a reboot, but that might trigger... Here's the problem. If I do a reboot, that might trigger a Windows update, which I think is what's causing the problem. So we could be back on just, regular green screen coming out of the break.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all right. We'll deal with that. Let me do a famous birthday, then we can take a little break, and Pete will see if he can get this all fixed up. So it is April 13th. Oh, I'd be remiss if I didn't announce that, even though it's not today, but 3 days ago on April 10th, it was the birthday of the very famous person in my family, my daughter Grace, who is now the ripe old age of 31. And Grace said you can tell she's adulting because when her boyfriend's father asked her what she would like for her birthday, she said, "Oh, I think a gift card to Home Goods would be really wonderful." You know, she's out buying towels and things like that because they have a house now. So happy birthday, Grace. We had a nice time on her birthday. All right, but today, April 13th, is the birthday of Al Green, rhythm and blues singer, born on this date in 1946 in Forest City, Arizona. You don't think of Arizona as having forests, but okay. Al Green is 76 years old today. He became a popular soul singer whose hits include 1971's Let's Stay Together and I'm Still in Love with You. After being kicked out of the family home for listening to the secular music of Jackie Wilson, Al Green started a group called The Creations, which later became Al Green and the Soulmates, which I think that's a really cool name.
Okay.
The Soulmates had one hit, and that the name of that was Backup Train, which brought them to a successful appearance at New York City's Apollo Theater. After the Soulmates failed to capitalize on their one hit, the group broke up and Al Green struck out on his own. With his ballads, his gifts of long-stemmed roses to female concertgoers, and his golden voice, Green became a true star. While at the top of his career in the 1970s, Al Green kind of left secular music to become a reverend, and he chose to focus on gospel music. Years later, he found a balance between his religious calling and secular music, and he went on to release several new albums. After turning away from the songs that had made him famous, Al Green has become comfortable with both his popular music as well as his religious vocation. In recent years, the famed musician was named on Rolling Stones magazine's 100 Greatest Artists of All Time list. So that's kind of impressive. So happy 76th birthday to rhythm and blues singer Al Green. And we'll do one more birthday, I think, this morning before we take our first break and we figure out what's going on with this screen. It is the birthday of singer-keyboardist Wayne Lewis. Wayne Lewis was born on this date in 1957, a great year to be born, I might add. He was born in White Plains, New York. He is 65 years old today. So congratulations, Wayne Lewis, because first of all, you are now eligible for Medicare. This I know because I am fast approaching that. As a matter of fact, I mean, my mailbox now at home is filled with every, health insurance plan on the planet who is aware of the fact that I'm turning 65 this year and wants me to join as their member. And the thing that's so hysterical about this is it doesn't matter because I work full time for the city. So I don't need any of these extra plans that they want to, what I mean? It's The city is still my primary insurer, and I just have to apply for Medicare Part A, but I get a kick out of this. But anyway, Wayne Lewis, I don't know if you're still employed full time, but you are now Medicare eligible. Wayne Lewis was a member of Atlantic Starr, and Atlantic Starr, with the group Atlantic Starr, began in Greenburgh, New York as a 9-member band, including 3 Lewis brothers, David, Jonathan, and Wayne, whose birthday is today. Throughout the late 1970s and early 1980s, Atlantic Starr scored several hits on the rhythm and blues charts. However, significant crossover success onto the pop charts did not come until halfway into the 1980s with the release of their album As the Band Turns and the single Secret Lovers. In 1987, after signing to Warner Brothers Records, the band solidified their pop success by scoring a #1 pop as well as a #1 R&B hit with the song Always, a love ballad off their album All in the Name of Love. Atlantic Starr still continues to perform today and released their 14th album, which was called Metamorphosis, in 2017. So happy 65th birthday to Wayne Lewis, singer and keyboardist for Atlantic Starr. All right, it is almost 6:15, so it's 6:14 and 45 seconds. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. We're going to listen to Al Green on the occasion of his 76th birthday, singing Let's Stay Together. We'll be back.
Whatever you want to do is all right with me. 'Cause you make me feel so brand new. And I want to spend my life with you. Me say, sing, baby, since we've been together. Ooh, loving you forever is what I need. Let me be the one you come running to. I'll never be untrue. Oh, baby, let's stay together. Loving you weather times are good or bad, happy or sad. Ooh, yeah. Whether times are good or bad, happy or sad. Why people break up? Oh, and turn around and make up. I just came to see you'd never do that to me, would you, baby? Staying around you is all I see. Is what I want us to do. We ought to stay together. Loving you weather times are good, bad, happy or sad. Come on, let's stay together. Loving you weather.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for Arts Beat, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. Oh, that's better, Pete.
I had to go old school. This
Oh.
is direct.
Okay.
Now I'm going to try to reboot the computer because I realized I
Okay.
couldn't reboot the computer in the break because we're playing music.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, this is perfect. Oh, and
Good
the
for now.
Yeah, it is good for now.
This is what we started with just a switcher.
Yeah. Exactly. Wow.
So I'm rebooting the computer and the updates are underway.
Okay, well, we'll see how that goes. Stay tuned, everyone. But for now, we've got the sun coming up behind me. I'm out in the meadow, kind of where I belong. Where am I? Here I go. That's what Friends Are For t-shirt. So, and by the way, if you'd like one of these, we still have some left. We're going to order some more because we're running low. My greeter has been busily selling this. Now that the weather's warming up, everybody's like ready to wear t-shirts. So
Gotcha.
This is a fundraiser for the Friends of the Westfield Senior Center for those of you. And it does say under here, Westfield Senior Center, that's what Friends are for. And
Yeah, sometimes people ask why I keep the basics running in this place.
And now we know.
And this is why.
This
in
is
case
why.
all else fails, if
Yeah.
the computer dies or whatever,
Yep.
you could still run things sort of manually.
Yeah, absolutely. This is great. It does. It feels good.
I have the flexibility to run off just the computer if I wanted to, but Windows updates sometimes
Yeah.
do those in.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. There it is. All right. Well, that's fine. Well, today, April 13th so we have to talk about this. It is Make Lunch Count Day. It was really interesting. I was kind of laughing when I read this, but how true is this? On National Make Lunch Count Day, April 13th, let's not skip lunch. Whether you have a salad, a sandwich, or a smoothie, make sure that you get that fuel boost, whatever it takes. Brunch gets the glamour, but let's be honest, it's not Easter every day. That's where National Make Lunch Count Day comes in. Somewhere between breakfast, currently branded as the day's most important meal, and dinner, the end of the day repast, lies the oft-maligned lunch. That thing you're eating at your desk right now, if you're lucky. Sometimes it's 3 p.m. before office workers realize they've missed it. Remember, there's still a whole half a day left. That is so true, though. I eat lunch at my desk, and that is really true. There are often times when it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm going, God, I'm starving. And then I think back and think, oh, yeah, well, no wonder I'm hungry. I've been up since 5 o'clock, and I had breakfast hours ago, and I totally forgot to have lunch. And it's really hard too for us
Breakfast,
because we
what's that?
Yeah, right. I know. Well, I have, what, Pete, I used to I love breakfast because I love cold cereal and I love oatmeal. I love hot cereal. And I love pancakes, and I love like egg sandwiches. And so sometimes, George and Joanne will make us, stuff from the kitchen. You never know when you're going to get pancakes or when we're going to get egg sandwiches. He'll just make up a tray and, put them out for the staff. And I used to always have breakfast before, like for years, like 35 years, I would have breakfast before I got to work. I would have breakfast at home, and I get up pretty early. And then when COVID hit, it was harder. I was getting to work earlier, and I didn't really have time to eat breakfast before that. And we're pretty casual at the senior center, so I've just sort of adopted the get to work early, and I do have breakfast. I always find a little bit of time to make some instant oatmeal or something like that, and I'll eat that at my desk. But lunchtime is harder because we do curbside lunches, and then now that the senior center is open, it's like oftentimes right after that we're setting up or getting ready for a program, or I have a meeting, and then it's like the end of the meeting, and I'm going, oh my gosh, I'm starving. Well, it's because I never ate. I brought my lunch. I bring my lunch every day, so I always have something to eat, but it's just remembering. So, created by TGI Fridays in 2016, National Make Lunch Count Day aims to take the boring out of lunch and get people away from their work and into restaurants for their midday meal. The national restaurant chain commissioned a study that showed that Americans suffered from what they dubbed as FOLO, fear of lunching out, which they said can leave employees feeling unproductive and void of creativity. They believed, the restaurant people, that too many people were bringing lunch from home, eating by themselves, eating at their desks called dining al desco, and feeling like they didn't have enough time to eat at a restaurant. So TGI Fridays came up with the National Make Lunch Count Day, and along with it, a new lunch menu and quick mobile pay options.
Sounds like a marketing opportunity
Absolutely.
to me.
It is absolutely a marketing opportunity, but you know what? Take that out of it. But I do agree that, all too often, and I am absolutely guilty of this, it's like all too often I'm eating lunch at my desk while I'm working and not really taking a little bit of a break. I have, I have one staff.
That's why I do enjoy working here, because you can walk down the hall.
Right, exactly.
To the restaurant.
Yeah,
and,
just get out
lunch.
of your office for, get out of your space for a little while.
I try to go have lunch with my peers. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'll go over to Agawam or have lunch with Les Tingley or try to some of the other directors and go have lunch,
Yeah, which is that's super nice. I have one staff member who meets up with one of the seniors who lives right next door, and they take a walk at lunch, which is great. She gets a half-hour lunch. She'll actually eat lunch, sort of, usually at the center, but her half hour is, put on your sneakers and go out and take a walk, which is really awesome. So
Hey, we're back.
we are back. I can see that.
And
I
you
am.
don't look electronic anymore.
Yeah, where am I now, though? I'm not on the green. I'm on.
No, that
I'm on-
camera's not running. So
Oh.
you're at Pilgrim Candle overlooking the Green Bridges.
Oh, well, I was going to say, if I see the bridges in the background, but I was trying to figure out where the camera was.
Yep, Pilgrim Candle Building.
Wow. How fancy schmancy, Pete. Okay, we have another cool birthday today. It is the birthday of John Stone, writer, producer, and director. Well, actually, the late John Stone, because he passed away in 1997. But he was born on this day in 1931 in New Haven, Connecticut, and he died in 1997 at the age of 65, just a couple weeks shy of his 66th birthday, because he died on March 30th. John Stone was an Emmy Award-winning writer, producer, and director who helped to create Sesame Street and such beloved characters as Cookie Monster, Big Bird, and Oscar the Grouch. In the course of a career in television that began in 1955 in a CBS training program, John Stone won 18 Emmy Awards for his achievements as a producer, director, and writer. In 1968, he helped to bring Jim Henson, the creator of The Muppets, and Joe Raposo, who became the music director, into the Sesame Street family when it was assembled by Joan Gantz Cooney, a founder of the Children's Television Workshop. Mr. Stone wrote the pilot script for Sesame Street. He had earlier been a producer of Captain Kangaroo for CBS. Now, that was before your time, right, Pete? You
Well, I
didn't.
remember the
Do
Captain.
you remember Captain Kangaroo and Mr. Green Jeans and Dancing Bear?
Yep.
I'm really showing my age, but I had this discussion. It was Gary and I were talking to somebody. Now I'm trying to think of where we were or who we were. I think it was when I think it was on Grace's birthday. She and her boyfriend Isaac came over and they had dinner, and we were talking about shows that we grew up with as kids. And when Grace was a kid, it was Barney, and we were talking about Miss Frizz, the Magic School Bus. And so Gary and I started talking about like Romper Room and Captain Kangaroo, and I was a huge Captain Kangaroo fan. I loved that show. So Stone's philosophy called for Sesame Street to be more than a children's show. And this is a quote, he said, "We set out to make a show that children and adults could watch together and children could ask questions." John Stone died of complications from ALS, which is commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease, when he was, just as I said, not quite 66 years old. But
Did you hear that Gilbert Godfrey passed away from
I did.
multiple... no,
I didn't hear what it
MS.
was from. Was
I
it
think
from MS?
I think it was MS, yeah.
Yeah, I did hear that. I heard that, and they actually did a really nice expose on him.
Multiple dystrophy. Maybe
Okay.
it was MD.
MD?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
One
did.
of
I heard
those.
that. He died last night. Was it yesterday?
They
that he
announced
passed away?
yesterday.
Yeah. They did a really nice expose on him on National Public Radio. I was listening to it on my way in this morning. I mean, he had one of those voices. If you don't recognize the name, if you hear the voice, as soon as I heard the voice, I was like, oh my gosh, I know, I know. I recognize that voice. He had a super distinctive voice. So happy birthday to the late John Stone. It was interesting on the whole Sesame Street thing. And of course, Dr. Lovelace, his mom was really involved in Sesame
Right.
Street. Remember that? And he was actually on the show. He used to go down and, he was on the set a lot when he would, our kids come and visit us at work, and he would do that with his mom. But he was actually on a segment, and I don't know if he sent this to you, Pete. It was a few years ago. We were talking about the importance of washing your hands, throughout the day and so forth. And he sent me this video of him as a kid on Sesame Street, and they did a song about washing your hands, and they needed some kids to be washing hands, and he was one of the kids. I don't know how old he was, probably about 6 years old, 7 years old, something like that. And he sent me the video of that. It was absolutely hysterical. It was a riot. But so good stuff on Sesame Street. My niece was a huge Sesame Street fan. Grace never was. She never really got into it, but my niece was, and my oldest brother was the one who said to me, because Karen's about 7 years older than Grace, and he said that he told me, Sesame Street was really written both to appeal to both kids as well as parents who kind of have to, often watch the shows with their children. He said there's this whole other level of dementia dimension that, only parents would probably pick up and not the kids. But good stuff. Good show. All right. It is 6:30. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses on WCPC Cable Channel 15. So in honor of the birthday of Wayne Lewis, member of the group Atlantic Star, we're going to listen to, this is just a beautiful song. I think this is just one of the prettiest love songs. It's called Always. We'll be back.
Hold on. I was one song ahead.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Oh,
Give me 1 second.
okay. That's all right.
It's one of those mornings.
It is one of those mornings, and that's okay. Well,
Okay.
yep, there you go.
Girl, you are to me all that a woman should be, and I dedicate my life to you always. A love like yours is rare. It must have been sent from up above, and I know you'll stay this way for always. And we both know that our love will grow, and forever it will be you and me. Ooh, you're like the sun, chasing all of the rain away. When you come around, you bring brighter days. You're the perfect one for me, and you forever will be. And I will love you so for always. Come with me, my sweet. Let's go make a family, and they will bring us joy for always. Oh boy, I love you so. I can't find enough ways to let you know, but you can be sure I'm yours for always. And we both know that our love will grow, and forever it will be you and me. Ooh, you're like the sun, chasing all of the rain away. When you come around, you bring brighter days. You're the perfect one for me, and you forever will be. And I will love you so for always. I will love you so for always. I will love you so for always. I will love you so for
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Join us the third Wednesday of every month with Selectman Joe Didi and his take on everything Southwick.
Community Radio 89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfields. It is 6:35. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles, even though it looks like we're broadcasting from the Great River Bridges over here.
There you go.
But that's what we have in our background. So good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So just to give people a little preview of what's happening second hour on the show, my guests will be Kimberly O'Connor and Sean Mitchell. They're both from Overlook Hospice, so that will be our topic of the morning a little bit later on. I enjoyed listening, Pete, yesterday to Dr. Coughlin, Kevin Coughlin. I'm a fan. Always love to hear him. Now, was he? He wasn't in the studio, was he?
No, he was at home.
I was listening on my radio, so I got the impression that he was. Did he call in or Zoom in?
Zoom in.
He zoomed in. Yeah, the good Dr. Coughlin. That's how he's referred to in our family. So. Always nice to hear from him. All right, so big doings at the Senior Center starting tomorrow. So let's talk about this a little bit. We are going to start indoor dining once a week on Thursdays beginning tomorrow, April 14th. So here's how this works, folks, because we had 2 people who came in yesterday all ready for, okay, we're here for lunch. We said, well, you didn't sign up for lunch, and we finished lunch half an hour, like we already served. We're done with curbside. Oh, we thought we were eating indoors. Not yet. All right. So on Thursdays, here's how this works. The registration process for lunch, the reservation process / registration process is exactly the same as it is for curbside. You call the Senior Center between 8:30 and 9:15 in the morning. And you say, I'm coming for lunch today. And then you need to be at the Senior Center we're going to start taking, doing money and having and seated, doing seating between 11:30 and 10 minutes to 12. But you need to be in the lunchroom and sitting down by about 10 minutes to 12, because we're going to start serving coffee and tea and your beverage at that time. And then we'll start serving, the regular meals at noontime as we did early, pre-COVID back in the old days. So it's really pretty simple. There will be no lunch tickets the way we used to do it. We're not going to do it that way anymore. You're going to come in. We'll have a table set up in the great room. And you're just going to stop by the table, pay your $3, and you're just going to get a little tag that says paid, and you're just going to put that down on the table in front of you, and that's just so that the wait staff, which is mostly my staff, know that that you're all set and you've paid and you're ready for lunch, and we are calling this weekly leisurely indoor dining because I know in the past, and we're not going to do it this way anymore, but I know in the past people were like looking at their watches like, okay, it's time to serve me, I want my table done. You know what, folks, this is a leisurely, because people have really been saying that the reason they want to come back indoors is because they miss their friends. They want to be able to sit and chat, and just what, Pete, what you and I were talking about earlier, make lunch count day. So it's not just about the food, it's also about the camaraderie. And, that's why I think people were sort of starved for that, for that socialization. So we are not rushing through this. You get served when you get served. We're only going to have a couple people doing the serving. But right now, the room capacity in the great room is 60, so there won't be any more than that, and it doesn't take us very long to serve 60 people. That's not really a big thing. Yep. So again, tomorrow starts, but we are not accommodating walk-ins. At 9:15, when we close the lunch phone line, that's when the count will be given to the kitchen, and that's how many meals they're going to prepare. So no walk-ins saying, oh, I heard there's lunch today, I'm here for it. Sorry, make sure you call in. I would also tell you this, just as with curbside, we may sell out quickly. So I wouldn't wait until 9:10 to call. I would start calling at 8:30. For those of you who are not familiar because you haven't done curbside, let me forewarn you. I have multiple staff taking the phone calls at 8:30. We do this very, very quickly. I mean, we got this down to a science. We're just going to get your name. That's all we need, your name, and we put you on our list. And so we can do many, many phone calls in like a minute. Honestly, it only takes us about 10 seconds per phone call because we sell out quickly. And some people say, well, how did you sell out so quickly? Yesterday we sold out in 6 minutes. We did lasagna. We had, I think our cap was like 80 or 85. And it was 6 minutes. That's it. We do this very, very quickly. So I don't want people to be disappointed. So here's the other trick. If you call and the phone keeps ringing, just let it ring because you go into, it's an automated system, you go into a queue. And so as we're taking calls and hanging up, the next person in the queue is going to be the person that, we talk to. If you hang up and you call back, now you're at the back, you're at the end of the line.
I remember setting it up all those years ago.
Yeah, so you're at the end of the line. So we say to people, unless it's busy, if it's busy, obviously you have to hang up and call back. Right, exactly. Then the queue is full. But if it rings, let it just keep ringing. And most of the curbside people have gotten this down. They've been doing this now for at least a year. Some of them have been doing it with us the whole 2 years. So they know, just let it ring. Don't hang up. You're going to get your turn. It's all the new people who have never done this before, and it rings and rings and rings, and they go, oh, forget it, and they hang up, and then they call back. Well, now you're at the bottom of the queue, and sometimes by the time we get to you, it's like, well, now we're sold out. Had you stayed on the line, you would have gotten a meal. So that's my little words of wisdom. So hint to those who don't know. So again, all lunch participants should be seated at their table. I would say by around 11:45. If you shoot for 11:45, you're good. But make sure that you give yourself a couple of minutes because you're going to have to pay and kind of there may be a little bit of a line there. Okay, so that's it. That starts tomorrow. So we're going to do that Thursdays throughout the month of April. And if the numbers are good, and the numbers are high enough, then we will add another day of the week in May. And if those numbers are good, we will add another day of the week in June. So ultimately, we will get to 4 days a week indoors and 1 day a week curbside. And we'll keep it that way for a while. So we'll see how those numbers go. People are asking me, when are things getting back to normal? It's a new normal. There's no such thing as back to normal, but we have a new normal. And there are some things that we are not going back to the old way that we used to do it because we've discovered new ways. And I was actually on the phone with Superintendent Stefan Zaborowski yesterday, and we were talking about that. We were talking about the fact that some of the silver linings that came out of COVID was that it forced us to do things differently. And we've discovered that, hey, you know what? That's not a bad thing. As Stefan was saying, everybody has a Chromebook now. He said that wouldn't have happened pre-COVID, but now, we have that. And so now we have that, those tools that we can work with. So there were some good things that happened. Just a few reminders and some things happening around the senior center. We have a nurse that is at the senior center all the time now. This is a gift from the public health department. Evelyn Bristol is becoming busier as we go along, and we're utilizing her in more and more ways. So that's really exciting. If you'd like to meet with Evelyn, she will take walk-ins, but you're taking your chances. We really recommend that people call in because she does have responsibilities outside of the office and the building. Even with us. So she may be on a home visit. So if you drop by, and she may or may not be there. So we suggest that you call. Generally, even if you just call in the morning and say, hey, can I come by in a half an hour? Chances are she's going to say, sure, I'm here. And not busy. Or she may say, oh, I have somebody else scheduled in an hour. Why don't you come in 45 minutes or an hour? So give us a call at the Senior Center, 562-6435, if you would like to meet with Evelyn. And I noticed that we have some folks that are meeting with her on a regular basis. We have some people that are coming in once a week, whether it's for blood pressure or, blood glucose testing or, whatever they're coming in for to get their weight. We have a health care scale in there, so it's you step on it, but it's got handles if that's helpful to you. So we have people meeting with her for all kinds of things. So that's really nice to see. So come on down and meet our nurse, Evelyn Bristol. She's also been getting out to all the groups as they're meeting to introduce herself. So we've noticed that, the support groups who meet monthly and, some of the groups that meet weekly, some of our games groups and so forth. She's just going in at the beginning, doing a quick introduction so people can put a face with a name. We are very excited. We're starting a writing group, and we are getting really good feedback on this one. So Donna Herman, who is a longtime volunteer with Stanley Park, contacted me about starting a writing group. It's called My Life Story, and you're actually writing about yourself. So that's a subject that you're familiar with. The group will meet beginning on April 25th. So they're going to meet Mondays from 1:30 to 3 p.m. And you know what? Honestly, folks, this is as much social as anything else. You do a little bit of writing each week about yourself, and you share it with the group. And then if you want a critique on your writing style or, your grammar or anything like that, the group will give you that critique. And if you just say, listen, I just want to read this out loud to everybody, then that's it. They'll listen to it and no critiques. So, anyway, the group size is limited, so you don't want to wait if you want to call because it is starting to fill up now. We're starting to get close to where we don't want to go over that many people. I think she's trying to keep it to no more than about 10. I would say maybe 12 at the most. And I think we're either at like 8 or 9 right now. So if you're interested in My Life Story writing group, give us a call at the Senior Center at 562-6435. All right, it is 6:46. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. And in honor of the birthday of John Stone, one of the originators of Sesame Street, we're going to listen to the song Rubber Ducky. We'll be back.
Well, here I am in my tubby again, and my tubby's all filled with water and nice fluffy suds. And I've got my soap and washcloth to wash myself, and I've got my nifty scrub brush to help me scrub my back, and I've got a big fluffy towel to dry myself when I'm done. But there's one other thing that makes tubby time the very best time of the whole day. And do you know what that is? It's a very special friend of mine, my very favorite little pal. Oh, Rubber Ducky, you're the one. You make bath time lots of fun. Rubber Ducky, I'm awfully fond of you. Bo-bo-bo-dee-o, Rubber Ducky, joy of joys. When I squeeze you, you make noise. Rubber Ducky, you're my very best friend, it's true. Oh, every day when I make my way to the tubby, I find a little fella who's cute and yellow and chubby. Rub-a-dub-dubby, Rubber Ducky, you're so fine, and I'm lucky that you're mine. Rubber Ducky, I'm awfully fond of you. Hey, Rubber Ducky, would you like me to scrub your back with my nifty little scrub brush? You would? Okay, how's this? Hey, you want me to scrub behind your ears? Oh, I see. You don't have any ears, do you? Well, how about your tummy? Scrub his little ducky tummy. Ooh, he's ticklish. Ooh. Oh, every day when I make my way to the tubby, I find a little fella who's cute and yellow and chubby. Rub-a-dub-dubby, Rubber Ducky, you're so fine, and I'm lucky that you're mine. Rubber Ducky, I'm like a whole pond of. Rubber Ducky, I'm awfully fond of you.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating, Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:50. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WC. What did I just say?
Yeah, I think you had it right.
Okay. All right. And WCPC Cable Channel 15. I'm sorry. I have an incoming call, and I'm guessing it's my guests. So I'm sure they're going to leave a message. So I'll grab that at the top of the hour. But it threw me off. I got all discombobulated here. Okay. So we're looking for anybody. Have you ever heard of the game, Pete, Mexican Train Dominoes? Have you heard?
Yes.
I had never heard of it, but we're trying to get a group together. There's a woman who came to the senior center. There was a gentleman who was at the senior center. This was pre-COVID. This was actually probably about 4 or 5 years ago, who wanted to start a group playing Mexican Train Dominoes. So we bought the set. So we have it upstairs in the games room. And then we couldn't really get it going. He really wanted to play. A couple of people tried it. I think they found it was a little harder than they thought it was going to be. We have another, and so then, and I honestly don't even remember the man who wanted to play. I wish I had his name and number because I don't know if he's still in the area. But we had a woman come in a few weeks ago, and she was kind of touring, the building, and she noticed that we had it in the closet, and she said, "Oh, do you have a group?" And we said, "No, we don't right now." And she said, "Well, I would love to play." So we're trying to so if anybody's interested, we're trying to get a group together. We don't have a set day or time or anything like that. That'll all depend on, if we can get a little group together that wants to play this. So if you're interested in Mexican Train Dominoes, either learning the game or if you know the game and you want to play, give us a call. Mary Lou's taking, sign-ups. So we are starting to get a few people that have asked us about it. So you can call the Senior Center at 562-6435 and ask for Mary Lou and just let her know that you're interested in signing up for the Mexican Train Dominoes. And once we have, I think you need like 4 or 5 players. Once we have enough players, then we'll figure out when everybody can meet and when they want to do it, because we're pretty flexible with that. Also, the chess group, Chess with Les Hutton is the coordinator of that group. They are looking for more chess players, which kind of surprises me because they have a nice little group going there, but I think they just want to build it up a little bit. They meet on Wednesday, so they'll be meeting this afternoon starting at 1 o'clock, and they usually play from about 1 to 2:30, between 2:30 and 3-ish, depending on how the game is going. And they're looking, if you want to learn how to play, Les will give you free, easy lessons, and they'll be tailored to whatever your abilities and your goals are. And then experienced players, if you already know how to play, you can always enjoy a friendly game and some helpful advice. They really kind of help each other out. So I have to learn how to play chess. I think it just, it helps with things like memory and all that brain stuff, all the good brain stuff that we've talked about on this show. So neurobics and everything. So anyway, if you're interested, either come on down to the Senior Center this afternoon or give us a call and just let us know that you're interested, and we'll connect you with Les Hutton, who is.
I don't have a problem with the brain aerobics. I design systems in my head all the time.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's exactly it.
People are always picking my brain to design new things. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, Pete. That's what neurobics is all about. I mean, it's just, especially utilizing your brain in ways that are challenging to you. So this is a great way to do it. Couple other announcements. I made this announcement yesterday at the Ward 1 meeting. We are partnering with the Westfield Police Department on April 30th. We will be doing National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day. That's a little bit of a misnomer because it's not just prescription. It can be over-the-counter medications as well. So things that we will be accepting on that day, or that the police will be accepting, Mary Lou and I will just be there probably handing out some safety stuff, pills, patches, ointments, liquids that are tightly sealed, vitamins, sample medications, and even pet medications. So any of those. And somebody asked me, one of my board members asked me at the meeting on Monday, if you bring them in your pill bottles, do you have to take your name? Do you have to take the label off with your name and everything? You do, or you don't have to. And you actually don't. You can take them all and put them in a big Ziploc bag if that's easier for you. They're destroying the medication, so they don't care what they are.
Yep.
They will accept vape pens or other e-cigarette devices as long as you've taken the batteries out. So no batteries in there. Items that they can't take, and somebody did ask me this yesterday. One of the seniors asked me, they can't take syringes, they can't take intravenous solutions, and they're not taking illicit substances such as marijuana.
Yeah, this is like sharps and things like that, no?
Right, exactly. So that's a different ball game. So that's going to take place on Saturday, April 30th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's curbside, folks. You're just going to drive in. You don't even have to get out of your car. The other thing that's happening curbside the week before, which is on April 23rd, is Shred Day. So we will have, this is sponsored by CSF, and they do a lot of scholarships for our high school students, so we ask you to support them. It's $5 per box. You can bring up to 3 boxes of items to be shredded. Somebody asked me, how big can the box be? Don't bring like a refrigerator box, because you have to be able to lift the box to get it in your car. Now, what they're asking, though, is you just put the boxes to be shredded in your trunk. You're going to pull up, and again, they are going to do all the work. You're going to pop the trunk, and they're going to take it all out. You don't even have to get out of your car. How great is that?
There you go.
So that will be on the 23rd from 9 to 11, or whenever the truck gets full. One of my board members asked me the other day, did the truck ever get full? It has. They have filled. So, I would say, but they don't want any early birds. Don't get there before 9, because they have to set everything up. And, if you start blocking the parking lot, they can't get the truck in there in order to do the shredding. So we're excited about both of those things. We're back in action here, full speed ahead. Also, we did the Westfield Council on Aging Presents this month is Eric Osheim, and he did a presentation on navigating senior living options. And that is a fabulous presentation. I've been listening to it while I do my morning exercises, because that's why I have to multitask in order to hear all my guest presenters. But that is on Tuesday afternoons at 2:45. So throughout the month of April. So tune in. He does a lot. He does a lot of explaining about senior living communities, assisted living, paying for it, downsizing, selling your house, all of the emotion that goes with that, all of the physical toil that goes with that. And he is just really just a wealth of information. So thank you to Eric for doing that. All right, let's do another couple of birthdays here. It is the birthday of Tony Dow, producer, director, and actor, born on this day in 1945 in Los Angeles. He's 77 years old. Tony Dow is best known for his role in the television sitcom Leave It to Beaver, which ran in prime time from 1957 to 1963. Dow played Wally Cleaver, the older son of June, played by Barbara Billingsley, and Ward, played by Hugh Beaumont, and the brother of Theodore, or Beaver Cleaver, played by Jerry Mathers. Following Leave It to Beaver, Tony Dow appeared on other television shows, including My Three Sons, Dr. Kildare, The Greatest Show on Earth, Never Too Young, and on 5 episodes of Mr. Novak in 3 different roles. Excuse me. After 3 years in the National Guard, Tony Dow is a guest star in the television series Adam 12, Love American Style, if you remember all these old shows, Knight Rider, Square Pegs, I didn't recognize that one, The Mod Squad, The Hardy Boys, and Emergency. In the 1990s, Tony Dow revealed that he has suffered from clinical depression, and he has since starred in self-help videos chronicling his battle including the 1998 Beating the Blues series. So happy birthday to Tony Dow, producer, director, and actor at 77 years
I
old.
think your guest may have just
Yes,
walked by.
I think
Hold
so
on.
too. So that's fine. Pete can take care of that. And
No, right here.
we have one more birthday to discuss. It is the birthday of the late Alfred Mosher Butts, architect and game inventor. Born on this day in 1899 in Poughkeepsie, New York. He is 93 years old. He died at the age of 93, April 4th, 1993. In the early 1930s, after working as an architect but then unemployed, Alfred Butts set out to design a board game. He studied existing games and found that games fell into three categories: number games, such as dice and bingo; move games, such as chess and checkers; and word games, such as anagrams. Butts was a resident of Jackson Heights, New York, and it was there that the game of Scrabble was invented. To memorialize Butts' importance to the invention of the game, there is a street sign at 35th Avenue and 81st Street in Jackson Heights that is stylized using letters, their values in Scrabble as subscript. You've been to New York, Pete. Have you ever seen that?
No.
I have not either, but I thought that was pretty cool. So Alfred Butts decided to create a game that utilized both chance and skill. It's really interesting how he designed this game, Pete, by combining elements of anagrams and crossword puzzles, a popular pastime of the 1920s. And remember, this game was designed in the 1930s. Players would draw 7 lettered tiles from a pool and then attempt to form words from their 7 letters. A key to the game was Butts' analysis of the English language. Now, remember, he didn't have computers to help him with this, folks. He did this all on his own. This was really interesting. He studied the front page of the New York Times to calculate how frequently each letter of the alphabet was used. And then he used each letter's frequency to determine how many of each letter he would include in the game. Because in the game of Scrabble, you have these tiles. So there are only so many tiles, there's so many letters, like whatever. There are 4 Fs or there are 2 Vs. And then depending on how many letters there are, for that, it depends on the value. So the fewer letters, like an X, I think there's only 1 or 2 X's. So they're worth like whatever it is, 8 or 10 points. So, and I thought this was interesting too, Pete. He only included 4 S tiles because he didn't want the ability to make words plural would make the game too easy. Because you can do that. You can take a word, and then just add an S to the bottom of it and make it a plural and get the full amount for for that word.
Right.
So he didn't want to have a bunch of S's. I always wondered, it's like, why didn't they have more S's? Because you use S a lot in your words. He didn't want people to be able to pluralize it too easily. So he initially called the game Lexico, but he later changed the name to Crisscross Words. And he began to look for a buyer. The game makers he originally contacted rejected the idea, but Butts was tenacious. So I thought that was hysterical too. So people thought, nah, this isn't going to go anywhere. We're not doing anything with this. Eventually, he sold the rights to entrepreneur and game lover James Bruno, who made a few minor adjustments to the design, and he renamed the game Scrabble. In 1952, Jack Strauss, who was then president of Macy's, placed a large order for the game after playing it on vacation. And that, now you know the rest of the story, because that's really when Scrabble took off, when it was offered at Macy's as an item for sale. So because today is Alfred Butts' birthday, it is also April 13th is also National Scrabble Day. So in honor of the birthday of Alfred Mosher Butts, born on this day, April 13th is National Scrabble Day. Today, more than 7 decades after Butts invented the game, we live for triple word scores, not to mention the strategic use of those mysterious blank tiles. That's right, I forgot to mention that. So there are 2 blank tiles. Now then, time to lift the lid on that game box, pick out your first 7 letters, and begin. Don't forget the Scrabble dictionary, which, by the way, we have Scrabble sets at the Senior Center. We used to have some women who played a lot up in the games room.
Really?
So we got to get that going again. Yeah. And we do have a Scrabble dictionary because, fights could break out because, no, that's not a word. Yes, it is a word. So, right? We don't want any squabbles, which, by the way, squabbles happens to be a valuable Scrabble word worth 21 points.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, there you go. All right, it is 7:04. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. We are going to take our top of the hour break. When we come back, we have our guests here from Overlook Hospice. We'll be back.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley, with convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut. Visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:07. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I have a full house here. So we have Peak Holes in the studio, and our guests this morning are from Overlook Hospice. We have Kimberly O'Connor.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Sean Mitchell.
Good morning.
Good morning. So thank you for coming at this early hour. I know it's like some people come in here. It's like, oh my God, this is like, I had to get up so early. But just think, I've been here, Pete and I have been here since before 6. So we've gotten up really early. So this is the first time that both of you have been on the show. So welcome. And usually what I like to do, you're very, very welcome, is, sort of get so our viewers get to know who our folks are. I think I'm going to start with Kimberly. So let's just get a little bit of background here. So this is, what I like to tell people is just relax. It's as if we met at a cocktail party and, we're sipping on our champagne or something. And I say, oh, so what do you do? Yes. So Kimberly, tell us a little bit about your background. Are you from Massachusetts? Kind of where do you live? Where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? And, a little bit about your career. So
Sure, absolutely. Born and raised in Springfield. I still live
Oh,
in
you're
Springfield.
local.
Yes, I'm a local gal.
Good.
I went to Holyoke Community College and
Okay.
subsequently to American International College. And upon graduation, I started working in the field in marketing, development, and fundraising.
Now, what did you study at HCC? Pete and I are always interested in when people, especially when they go to school locally, again, just so our viewers sort of know what's available. So what did you study at HCC?
I studied business at HCC.
Okay.
And then human biology and science at American International College.
Well, that's an interesting combination.
Yeah, it's a very interesting combination. I think that fits well with the current position that I am in. So I have a background in development, fundraising, marketing, and biology. So it fits nicely in the world.
That's
that I'm
really
working in
interesting.
today.
So when you graduated from AIC, where was your first job?
Oh gosh.
Way back when. Dig back in the brain. I know. The resume gets longer and longer.
My first job. Actually, I think my first job was at American Heart Association.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I've had a long history of working with the American Heart Association. I started there out of college doing a number of different roles in development and took a little bit of time off upon the birth of my children.
Yeah.
And then returned back to the workforce and went back to American Heart about 10 years later.
So have you always been, it's sort of in the health, like sort of the business end of and marketing of healthcare? Have you ventured off into other things and then sort of come back into healthcare?
No, pretty much the same, working either at the American Heart Association or the Ronald McDonald House. Yes, so worked for years doing that, and then this wonderful opportunity with Overlook came up, and I'm thrilled to be a part of such a great team doing great work in the community.
Wow, that's awesome. We have a group at the Senior Center, our Sassy Stitchers group, that will be meeting this morning, and they've had a partnership with Ronald McDonald House for a number of years. They make blankets and they knit and crochet other things and so forth. So we have a little special place in our heart for Ronald McDonald House. And, also, of course, the American Heart Association, we use a lot of their information, especially the information that's online. So So great. And so now how long have you been, how did you kind of venture? Now you're at Overlook Hospice.
Yes.
We're going to learn a lot more about Overlook and, what it does and what you both do there and so forth. But so how long have you're kind of new to Overlook, is that correct?
I am new. I've been with Overlook for about a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's, you're an old pro now.
An old pro now.
You've been there a year. You can come on the show and talk about it. You know everything there is to know. So, okay, well, perfect. Well, welcome, Kimberly. We're going to switch over to Sean Mitchell. Thank you both for having really easy names to pronounce. Because I'm looking, I'm going, oh, great. I don't have to ask them. And how do you say your last name? So, Sean, I'm going to do the same thing with you. So, where are you from and background and so forth?
I'm going to sound like a broken record in parallel to
No
Kimberly.
kidding.
I was born and raised in Springfield. I currently reside in Munson, but I was a graduate of Holyoke Community College as well. Kimberly and I have known each other now probably since 1986. We went to high school together.
Okay. All right. Now I get what this is all about. Okay.
And,
Perfect.
I went to American International College as well, where I got my bachelor's and master's degree in Indiana University as well for another master's degree. So, and my career was about 20 years in fundraising and development as well. Muscular Dystrophy Association was the first career choice I took, and then American Heart Association, where Kimberly and I crossed paths again. And then so on. I took different ventures and stuff where I got involved in local healthcare systems with Holyoke Medical Center, Cooley Dickinson Hospital, Harrington Hospital. And
where's Harrington? Oh, I've heard of it. Yeah, where is that?
Out in Southbridge, Mass.
Okay,
Yeah, so
I was going to say central, kind of more central Mass.
Correct.
Well, not that, close to Munson. I mean, not that far,
So pretty much I got involved in capital campaigns back then for different different emergency departments, different programs, different expansions that those hospitals got involved in. And then when I really got involved into home care was when I was working for a place called Center for Hospice Care out of Norwich, Connecticut, which is now a part of Hartford Healthcare.
Okay.
I got involved in home care and really kind of took a liking to it, where I had a little bit of it when I was with Holyoke Medical Center. I really didn't know the whole bit about it until I got involved in that. And then when this opportunity came involved, I was just pretty much burnt out with fundraising and stuff, doing that for 20 years.
Yeah,
you can shake the trees for so long, and this opportunity came along where I could parallel my skills with, and I've been with the organization for about 3 years and incredibly passionate about the mission and what we provide into the community.
Nice. And so I'm going to guess that you kind of brought Kimberly into the fold.
I did.
Is that how this whole thing worked? Well, that's, it's called networking. We've talked a lot about that on this show, so.
When the opportunity presented itself, I had the perfect candidate for it. So it's we've had a couple vacancies and stuff, and I've been able to plug the holes with them. So they usually ask me if I know anybody else around.
And you know what? That's I mean, it's a great way to do it because it's a known entity. You know, it's like, listen, I know this person, and
and our fundraising,
it'll be a good fit.
And our fundraising skills work parallel with what we do right now. It's pretty much networking and connecting with people in the community and just building relationships and trust, and that's what goes along with development, and that's what goes along with pretty much liaison work, which we do right now.
And Sean, so you have a lot of, what did you study when you were at Holyoke Community?
Holyoke Community, I originally was going into the law field. I spent high school and early college years working for several law firms in the community and stuff, and then I was pretty much tired of it when I finished my bachelor's degree. So I studied, it was liberal arts in Holyoke Community, and then I double majored in political science and philosophy. And then when I started getting really involved in the fundraising aspect, I looked and got my master's in master's in nonprofit management, and then Indiana University was fundraising management. So.
Now, was the Indiana one online, or did
online.
you actually move out to Indiana and come back?
No, I actually had to do a couple residencies all around the country. So they had one in Indiana. That's where we had to take the last one in South Carolina, one in Colorado Springs, and then there was one in Annapolis, Maryland.
Did you go to all those places?
I had to.
Wow, how long were you there?
Just took me about a year. So, but the residencies were like 2 weeks. You had to go there for 2 weeks. Okay. And they would take care. You would do all your work at home and online and so forth, but then you'd have the residencies over at these different places. So
were they all hospital based, or
no?
Were they
actually,
all
they were all different places. They put us up in like this really beautiful place that out in Colorado Springs that this guy donated this land, which was right along the Rocky Mountains. Annapolis was like
I definitely got my master's in the wrong thing and in the wrong place because there was no traveling to some really cool place in Colorado.
It was really a tough experience.
Yeah,
when you ended up in Indianapolis at the end, no, there wasn't really much to look at. It was gloomy and stuff. I'm not saying anything bad about Indianapolis, but it wasn't as nice as the other locations.
Colorado. So where was it? Colorado, Indianapolis, and where were the other two?
Annapolis, Maryland, and Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah, those would. 3 out of 4.
I fell in love with Charleston when I was there. It was a gorgeous town, and I was there in the middle of December, and I had to come back home to the cold, so it wasn't nice.
Oh my gosh, I am jealous. And then, so that was was that the second master's?
That was my second, yes.
And that one, what was that one in?
Fundraising management.
Okay.
And Indiana University and Purdue University have what they call the Mecca of fundraising schools. It's now called the Lilly School after the Lilly family donated all the money to it. So they have their name on the program itself. So that was one of the best opportunities I had. I did some work with Habitat for Humanity, and they underwrote the whole thing, which was great.
Wow, you've got a really interesting background. Very
thank you.
Varied and interesting. All right, and on that note, we're going to take a short break. It is 7:17. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. If you're just joining me, my guests this morning are from Overlook Hospice. I have Kimberly O'Connor and Sean Mitchell. We'll take a short break. I have to see what my song. Oh, we're going to sing Sarah McLachlan, In the Arms of the Angels. We will be back.
Spend all your time waiting for that second chance, for a break that would make it okay. There's always some reason to feel not good enough, and it's hard at the end of the day. I need some distraction. Oh, beautiful release. Memories seep from my veins. Let me be empty. Oh, weightless, and maybe I'll find some peace tonight. In the arms of the angel, fly away from here, from this dark, cold hotel room, and the endlessness that you fear. You are pulled from the wreckage of your silent reverie. You're in the arms of the angel. May you find some comfort here. So tired of the straight line, and everywhere you turn, there's vultures and thieves at your back. The storm keeps on twisting. You keep on building the lies that you make up for all that you lack. It don't make no difference. Escape one last time. It's easier to believe in this sweet madness, all this glorious sadness that brings me to my knees. In the arms of the angel, fly away from here, from this dark, cold hotel room, and the endlessness that you fear. You are pulled from the wreckage of your silent reverie. You're in the arms of the angel. May you find some comfort here. You're in the arms of the angel. May you find some comfort here.
Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:23. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses, and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and in the studio this morning, our guests are Kimberly O'Connor and Sean Mitchell from Overlook. Now, Overlook's, what is Overlook's? Is it just Overlook or is it Overlook?
The technical name is The Overlook, and it's a continuum. We like to call it a continuum, which is out in Charlton, Mass., our headquarters, but we have offices in Sunderland and West Springfield, Mass. So what we mean by continuum is if you've ever been out into the Charlton area, we kind of have like what we like to call a mini city out there. It's a huge, it's like a retirement community that you see like with Loomis here locally or Armbrook. And it consists of, we like to call it a continuum because it is an assisted living, a independent living, and we also have a skilled nursing facility, which is our healthcare center. And we branch out after that with our VNA and hospice, which Kimberly and I are part of. So
you really have, I mean, that really is a true continuing care retirement community.
Exactly.
Because you've got you've got independent, you've got assisted, and you've got skilled nursing.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the good thing about that is, our residents will receive care in there. And I know one of the biggest concerns about most retirement communities in the area is keeping their residents healthy and safe and keeping them in their units. So if they happen to have an injury or a fall, they can obviously go to the hospital and so forth, and then they can recover in our health center, and then they can go back to their units where the VNA and the hospice can come in and provide the care that they need to recover.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about sort of the physical layout of this so that people have a picture in mind. So, Sean, first of all, how many units are we talking about? So let's start there.
God, I probably I'm
hundreds.
I would say hundreds. I mean,
Okay.
the independent ones, they have cottages, they have ones that are inside the establishment themselves, and then they have the assisted living, which are people with round-the-clock care for people that who may be at risk for falls, who can't be safe at home or be safe in their own independent unit.
Okay. And then the skilled nursing facility is on campus. So this is, I'm assuming
on-site.
it's kind of like a campus type setup.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
It's enormous. It started back in 1908 with, any background about Overlook themselves. We are a part of Masonic healthcare system in Massachusetts.
Okay.
It was started in, I believe, 1908.
Wow.
When it was a lodge in Fall River, Mass. Wanted to find a nursing home for like older Masons. Back then, the Masons were just the top of the world, and they're still considered a very elite group of people nowadays. But they purchased some land back in 1908 to have this establishment built. They wanted a nursing home for their residents, and since then, each and every year, it's grown and grown and grown to it. Got to more like a hotel, and then it grew into more independent units in assisted living and became what it is now in 2022.
So is there any Fall River connection at all now anymore, or is that
it's all
it's all part of?
It's all incorporated into the Massachusetts health system, so the Massachusetts Masonic healthcare system. So that's pretty much the big operation. We are overseen by the Masons, by Masonic healthcare, but we have people that are non-Masons. We have Masons on staff. Are part of the board and so forth.
Okay.
So it's a mixed variety of people. So
people don't have to belong to a Masonic lodge in order to live.
I'm not myself. So.
Okay. All right. Good. I was just, as you were speaking, I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute, restrictions here. Just,
No.
To clarify that. And you actually work for the VNA piece of this. Do I have that right? Because it does get a little complicated and convoluted because there's so many pieces, kind of.
When the Overlook came to be, when we had the independent living, we had the skilled nursing facility, we had the assisted living, I think we had an opportunity. We were able to purchase some VNAs in the community, and so that's how we branched out our medical services to where we started our own VNA in Charlton, and we've kind of grown dramatically since then.
Okay, so VNA.
Yes.
We use a lot of acronyms here. So for our viewers, that stands for
Visiting Nurse Association. Right. So that's a universal term. I mean, many organizations in the area have it. Bay State has it. Trinity has it. Amedisys. You can just name many VNAs in the area. But Overlook, we've grown to the point to where we just started in Charlton, and then we took over pretty much all of Worcester County. Then we branched over to Hampden County,
Mm-hmm.
Franklin County, and Hampshire County. So, and we have aspirations of reaching further west out into the hill towns like Russell and Montgomery. And I think our first venture is going to be hitting out into the Metro West area of Boston. So we've grown significantly within the past 10 years.
Yeah, that's a lot of growth.
It is.
That's
It's
a lot of growth.
enormous.
So, talk to us a little bit, Sean, about what kinds of services the VNA portion of Overlook offers.
Sure. You know, everybody sees visiting nurse, they automatically assume that's nursing strictly. Many times, what VNA consists of is we cater a lot to elderly people. They have to be people that are homebound. They cannot be able to get in the car. They cannot work. If they go to doctor's appointments, they have to be transported by other people or by vans. So what we consist of is not only nursing, we consist of physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, home health aides, and then we also do just all different kinds of therapies just to make sure that people don't have another episode to where they're back into the hospital and they are kept safe in their home, so they have preventative ways of not having to be rehospitalized again.
Okay, so let's start with clarifying what exactly does, when you say nursing services, I
Sure.
think a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions
Of course.
about what the nurse actually is going to go in and do through something like a VNA.
Sure.
And so I think sometimes they think that the nurse is going to do sort of what we would consider to be home health aid or homemaker services.
Yep.
So explain to us, what exactly does the nurse do? If the nurse goes out, what's their role?
We call that skilled. So
Okay.
when a nurse goes in there, it's skilled. They do everything that nurses do in the hospitals, where they do vitals, they take all that kind of stuff. But it gets a little bit more technical sometimes, where it could be an ostomy, it can be cardiac. We have different programs in there where we have specialties where our nurses are on. It's not just suture pulls, it's med management. It's also just making sure we have the patient taking the correct medications and making sure they have it on schedule. Sutures, making sure wounds are clean. We
So
have
if somebody's had stitches after a surgery.
correct.
Okay.
So we pretty much we see some pretty serious times where people come in that are being treated for cancer and going with chemotherapies and making sure that they're getting the right things. We have IVs that come in quite a bit. We have infusions.
So that can all be, so people can be sent home needing those kinds of
Correct.
services.
Insurance nowadays, it's unfortunate, but insurance companies, they tend to cut people a lot sooner than they need. They could spend more times in skilled nursing facilities than they are. And insurance companies, unfortunately, nowadays send people home. And that's where we come in, especially the elderly. They kind of tend to have thin skin. There's a lot of wound care where, we get in there and we change the wounds. Sometimes it's a daily, but when it comes to daily, we always look for family to help where they can learn and assist, because unfortunately with insurances, again, they don't pay for nurses to come in on a daily basis. So we look for other people to come in and learn some of the skills that need to be done.
Yeah, and I think, and I'm really glad you brought that up, because that was going to be my next point, which is that I know with the VNAs that I've worked with in my 40-year history of being in this field, one of their roles is to teach family.
Correct.
And I've been on the receiving end of that as well, having taken care of grandparents years ago and parents and so forth. And it's like getting the tools to, for them to say, okay, you're going to do this tomorrow because I'm not going to be here. So, practicing with them and, having them oversee what I'm doing to make sure that I'm doing it correctly.
Exactly.
So that is one of the other roles of nursing.
That's one of the biggest things. Like when it comes in, a lot of patients that have had breaks or falls, especially we're just coming out of slip and fall season with, so we have a lot of people that have been in skilled nursing facilities that are on Lovenox or on heparin. So that is technically by insurance standards not a skill. So we have to come in and teach these families how to inject their loved ones with this. So it's a blood thinner pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, so those are blood thinners.
Yeah, exactly. So that's sometimes you get people like, I ain't touching a needle and stuff, but when they find out how easy it is, it's not only that, we're helping educate the patient, we're educating the family as well.
Right. Okay. Excellent. And then beyond nursing, you mentioned some other, some physical therapy. And occupational therapy. So let's talk a little bit about occupational therapy, because I think that's one of those therapies that a lot of, especially some of the seniors, if they're not really familiar with it, I think a lot of people kind of get the physical therapy piece, but it's like, what is that? Oh, what is that other thing? What does that person do?
They kind of mix the two. It's kind of like it's with more of the hands on how to feeding themselves, bathing, bathrooms, and physical therapy it helps with the transfers and stuff, but occupational therapy takes it to the next level. So it's more with hands and eating and getting back to normal life on how they incorporate their daily needs by feeding themselves, bathing themselves, going to the bathroom. You just, some of the simple things that you take for granted are taken away sometimes when you have an episode like this, whether it's a stroke patient or whether it's somebody who's had a major fall. It's just getting them back to utilizing the tools that they have come natural to them since birth.
Yeah, sometimes you'll find, the occupational therapist or OTs working with somebody, can you prepare a simple meal?
Correct.
Can you get yourself dressed?
Right.
Physical therapist
Showering.
might be like, okay, do you have to get upstairs to go to bed at night? We're going to work on stairs. We're going to work on, ambulation or mobility, walking, sitting, as you said, transferring.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And one of the big things that we have in Overlook, we do have an occupational therapist that is a vestibular therapist. And that's, if you're not familiar with that, many people do suffer from vertigo nowadays, and it's kind of a crippling condition that people have.
Yeah.
And we have a therapist that comes in and specializes with that and helps people overcome that, if I technically want to say it, or find ways of living with it, because sometimes it never goes away.
So that's like a sort of a balance issue, sort of that dizziness, sort of woozy.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, we're very fortunate. We have some of the best therapists and some of the best nurses in the area. And I'm not saying that because I work there, because I've worked for some of the pretty big organizations in the area, but what I like to say is Overlook, we're kind of like a specialty where you wouldn't buy a wedding dress at Walmart, you would go to a specialty store, and that's how I kind of consider Overlook.
Good analogy, Sean. All right, so we'll let people ponder that as we take our next break. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. If you're just joining me, my guests this morning are Kimberly O'Connor and Sean Mitchell from The Overlook, and we're talking VNA. And in just a minute, when we come back from this break, we're going to talk a little bit about the hospice program there. We're going to listen to the song Words by the Bee Gees. This is in honor of the birthday of Alfred Butts and him being the inventor of the game of Scrabble. We'll be back.
Smile, an everlasting smile. Her smile can bring you near to me. Don't ever let me find you gone, 'cause that would bring a tear to me. This world has lost its glory. Let's start a brand new story now, my love. Right now, there'll be no other time, and I can show you how, my love. Talk in everlasting words and dedicate them all to me. And I will give you all my life. I'm here if you should call to me. You think that I don't even mean a single word I say. It's only words, and words are all I have to take your heart away. You even mean a single word I say. It's only words, and words are all I have to take your heart away. It's only words, and words are all I have to take your heart away. It's only words, and words are all I have to take your heart away.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for Arts Beat, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:39. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles, our producer, and my guests this morning are Kimberly O'Connor and Sean Mitchell from The Overlook, which is a large healthcare provider that we're learning more about. Sean has just schooled us on the Visiting Nurse Association, the VNA portion of Overlook. But Kimberly, you have a different focus at Overlook. You've got an entirely different segment that you're working with, and that's the hospice program.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about what you do and the hospice program offered through Overlook, and then we'll get into some of the details of that.
Absolutely. So, my job working with Overlook Hospice is to provide families and patients with the education to make the most informed decision about end-of-life care.
Mm-hmm.
And, really one of my main goals is to help to remove the stigma around the word hospice, helping people to understand that hospice does not mean final hours, days, or weeks. It can be 6 months or subsequently longer, and that hospice doesn't have to be a scary word. I like to think that for folks who, when they hear the word hospice, my goal is that they hear hope and help.
Okay. All right. So let's start dispelling some of the myths, because there are plenty of them.
Yes.
And for those of us, and I also had worked in hospice, so I know my sense, and I want to talk to you a little bit about timing, because I worked in hospice quite a while ago, but I think it still happens today that people don't call hospice in until literally the 11th hour.
Sure.
And so I think part of the stigma and part of the reason why it's scary is because so often hospice gets called in so late, it really is just a matter of days or weeks. So let's talk about, when should someone call hospice? When do you think the referral should be made to hospice?
Well, that's really the decision of the patient and family
of
to
course.
make that determination on when hospice is appropriate. However, a good sign of when it may be time to call hospice is if you have been diagnosed with a terminal illness and you no longer are seeking curative treatments.
Okay.
And so if there are some questions, say, that you ask yourself, or as a family you have discussions around, do you no longer want to seek, curative treatments for whatever the diagnosis is? Do you no longer want to go back and forth to the hospital? And if you answer those questions and say, no, I don't want to do any further treatments and I prefer not to go back and forth to the hospital, then that's where hospice can come in and provide the services to that patient and family at home or wherever they call home.
Okay. And I think it's important. I think you use the word curative. So let's talk a little bit about treatments versus curative treatments, because I think some people, again, I think one of the myths is, well, if I participate in hospice, all treatment stops. That's not necessarily true, right? Because certain treatments may, just for comfort, it's not like all the medications, you're off all the
Right.
medications kind of thing. I think that's my point. So
Right,
maybe talk a little bit
absolutely.
about that.
Well, and that's where the clinical team comes in and reviews what medications the patient is currently taking, which may no longer be helping them given their diagnosis. As we're all aware, whenever we see a commercial on TV that speaks about a medication that may help for some ailment or issue that someone is having, there's also a whole host of other potential side effects.
Right. It's
So the-
usually a laundry list about
Sure.
this big.
Sure. That
Yeah.
that we talked about speaking
Yeah.
quickly like an auctioneer, and they go through all those very
Right.
quickly. So, which is not to say that there aren't many benefits for
Right,
taking
right.
medications. Please don't misunderstand me. But really, what the medical team does is takes a look at what the medications are given their diagnosis, and what medications may no longer be serving them in a positive way, and then making sure that whatever decisions are made in terms of medications to keep them on are kept in mind with keeping the patient comfortable, because comfort measures are really what is the main focus to ensure that the patient is comfortable.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit, because you've used another term here, Kimberly, which is sort of the medical team. So let's talk about the hospice team. Who makes up the hospice team? Because, I think a lot of people think it's the doctor and the nurse, but there are others involved
It's a
as
full
well.
team. That's
All right, so let's
absolutely
talk about
correct.
that.
So there's a whole, we refer to the team who services patient and family as our interdisciplinary team.
Yep.
And they are under the medical supervision of our medical director and our hospice nurse director. So the team that is in the home or wherever the patient calls home includes our hospice nurse, our home health aide, a social worker, a chaplain or spiritual advisor, and subsequently there's bereavement counseling. And the counseling doesn't necessarily have to begin when the patient dies, but that's but that is something that is available for families for 13 months following the loss of their loved one.
Okay. And so let's, again, you're bringing up, I love the terms that you're using because
Sure.
it's a spinoff. So where they call home, let's talk about that. Talk about why you use that phraseology.
Oftentimes there are families who have their loved one at home in the comforts of their own home, where hospice comes into the home and provides the benefits and services that they are entitled to. But there are other circumstances where a patient may reside in a skilled nursing facility, and so the hospice team will go into that skilled nursing facility and work with the patient there.
Very interesting. So you don't necessarily have to be at home.
Correct.
And is hospice still utilizing volunteers?
Yes, as I'm sure you can imagine, COVID sort of put a speed bump or a roadblock, I should say, into our volunteer program. But fortunately, some of those restrictions are starting to soften, and so we are having the opportunity to build our volunteers out in the community back up again. And our volunteers have been really a critical piece of the program, helping patients and families, whether someone decides that they want to do music therapy, pet therapy, massages, whatever it is that we can offer the patient to have mental and physical comfort during this time.
And the volunteers, just because I know we've had in the past, and this was probably pre-COVID, people who work with hospice volunteers. So there's a pretty extensive training program,
right?
So people are not just getting sort of thrown into.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is it's a specialty. So I mean, it's
a
much more than just I want to volunteer, to
Correct.
wash dishes in your kitchen. That's a little different when you say, well, I want to volunteer to be
Correct.
a hospice worker. There's a lot more to it than that.
You're absolutely right.
And I also want to key in a little bit on defining family. So, because a lot of my experience has been a lot of the hospice work is obviously with the patient, but also with the family.
Right.
So what does that include? Is that just like the husband or wife, or is that just like the kids, or how are we sort of defining family?
Well, there are many, different family dynamics. And so really, if we are working with a patient in the home, it includes whoever resides in that home. But then there are other circumstances where it's extended family outside of the home. So we just want to make sure that we are providing the tools and the resources for patient and for family, and as they are all prepared and going through this journey with their loved one.
Yeah, and that's really different depending on. I mean, there are just so many circumstances. Obviously, I work with older adults. I run a senior center, and we certainly see some of our folks with who are extremely close to, say, grandchildren,
Correct.
or certain grandchildren. Maybe ones that live in the area, maybe ones that they help to raise.
Right.
Because that's a whole other
That is a
topic
whole
that
other
we've
topic.
talked about on the show as well.
Right.
Grandparents raising grandchildren, and then if something happens and hospice is called in for that grandparent, you have this child who is a grandchild but is almost like a child too.
Correct.
Who has been raised by this person. So we don't. I think part of the benefit of hospice is those people are not ignored.
Correct.
They are attended to in some way. I think the social work piece of it, because I have a social work background and counseling background, and I think that's so important. And I think years ago, because I've been in the field for a very long time, and social workers were kind of it was like the doctor and the nurse. They were like the important people, and therapists and social workers and spiritual advisors, chaplains. Everybody else was kind of relegated. I think hospice, honestly, and I've talked about this before on the show, is that it was really one of the first groups to recognize the equal importance of all of these members of the team, including the hospice volunteer, including this person who sometimes is, boots on the ground, the eyes and ears to say, to be able to alert someone, whether it's the doctor, the nurse, the social worker, or the spiritual chaplain, this grandchild is really struggling.
Sure.
This grandchild is having a really bad week. And that may be in the form of, behavior in school, grade slipping, missing school, cutting school, or feeling like they need to be at the person's side who's the hospice patient. So I think all of those things are really important and need to be taken care of.
And I will mention too, when you speak about family, many patients have four-legged family members as well.
Thank you. Let's talk about that.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And four-legged, not necessarily just dogs. I have people that have a real affinity to cats as well.
Yes, of course.
For
dogs, cats.
Yeah.
We are part of a nationally funded program called Pet Peace of Mind.
Get out.
Yes.
All right, talk about that.
Yes.
Never heard of it.
Oh, well.
Let's talk.
I'm glad that I brought that up.
Peace of Mind.
Peace of Mind.
All right,
yes.
so what's that about?
So this is a program that helps patients who have a terminal illness make sure that they're able to take care of their pets that are in the home while they're, having interventions to help with their care. So it could include things as if they need help with getting the pet to and from veterinary services.
Yep.
Whether they need food in the home or grooming, and subsequently when a patient passes, if a family member isn't able to take that pet, then they will look into placement for their four-legged loved one.
Okay, I have to tell you, that is an unbelievably astute service because, again, I can't tell you how many times we have cases where we have somebody living in senior housing. We just had a case a few weeks ago. Somebody living in senior housing right next door to the senior center, took a bad fall. We ended up having to call 911, went to the hospital. He was walking his dog at the time.
Oh.
So, you're thinking, okay, what happens to we just sent him to the hospital.
Right.
The dog went back, we got the dog back in the apartment, but the dog can't stay in the apartment if he's admitted to the hospital. So, now you're scrambling around and in this case, it was lucky, family available. Sister came and said, I'll take the dog. But we've had other cases where we have pets and animals in a senior housing apartment, and we don't realize somebody got sent someplace and what happens to this animal. And those are also things that are really worrisome to the person who's the hospice patient. It's like you're worried about what's going to happen with my husband or wife, or what's going to happen with my children, or what's going to happen with my brother or whomever. But it's also a big piece of that is what's going to happen to my dog? My dog's been with me for 15 years or 10 years or, whatever. So
you're absolutely correct. They've been such a loyal companion to that senior, and it's potentially is a worry of theirs. And so that's the title of the program, Pet Peace of Mind, is really speaks to what it is. It gives the patient and family that peace of mind knowing that their pet will be taken care of.
That's awesome. That's right. So you are really thinking of everything. It's sort of all-encompassing.
Absolutely.
I want to sort of, let's talk, I want to talk about hospice and hope, but I want to end with that. So let's just get into the financial piece of it because we have a few minutes left. So if somebody if there's a family person watching, knows someone saying, this might be something that we need to explore and look into. How is hospice paid for?
So it's paid for by Medicare. It's a service and benefit that everyone who is entitled to. But subsequently, we accept most private pay insurances as well.
Okay.
If you're not at that age level.
Right. I was going to say not
Yes.
everybody who needs
Right.
hospice
That's
is 65
absolutely-
years old
Right.
and on
Right.
Medicare. Okay.
Absolutely.
So other insurances
Other
as well.
insurances are accepted as well.
Okay. And does hospice work kind of with the VNA, or how does that work? Or are you two connected at all? Other than you go back 100 years, but other than that, I was like,
100.
Yeah, that's what we are pretty fortunate about, and we're probably one of the only agencies in the area that has a VNA service, which we have another service after that, which is called palliative. So palliative services are for people that have a chronic or terminal illness that aren't quite ready for hospice yet. They don't want to hear that H word.
Okay.
So we will put them onto palliative care, which is similar to hospice care, but it does include therapy like physical therapy, occupational therapy. And our VNA as well does offer a social worker as well. So we have social work that comes in for our patients, not necessarily to palliative patients, but just regular VNA people that may need additional services that we can't provide, like home care services, transportation services, Meals on Wheels, et cetera, et cetera. So we do have a social services program. But to get back on course with the hospice and the VNA is if we recognize that a family is ready for hospice, and they don't want to do the palliative route, they know that they're just tired of getting beat up by chemotherapy and so forth. Yep. One of the benefits about hospice, I like to say, is sooner is better. The sooner you get involved with it, the quicker that you're going to take advantage of the benefits that hospice provides for you. And when our nurses can identify that and when the family is ready, normally what we do is we contact the hospice intake, which works and coincide with the VNA intake. And then it's a simple and easy process where...
So it's kind of a transition.
Exactly.
As opposed to...
Whereas if you had another agency out there that didn't have hospice care or anything like that, they'd have to make a whole new referral, get their primary care involved, and they'd be sending it over to another agency.
Right. It's a different organization, which is not impossible, but... I got to tell you, from the family standpoint, if you can stick within the same agency or organization, it just makes it sort of seamless.
It's a traumatic time enough.
Exactly. I think exactly. And I think the other thing, too, it sounds like from what both of you are telling me is that determines, because I have visions of my viewers going, okay, well, wait, what category do I fit in? Am I palliative care? But that determination is really made by the professionals that are working and sort of guiding the family through that, right? I mean,
right.
Yeah.
And usually hospice is you have to have a diagnosis of 6 months or less.
Right. But it doesn't mean that, okay, 6 months and you're doing well. I mean, we've all seen people rebound. Yeah. I've seen it. And I can remember working with a hospice patient, we were getting into the second year.
Yeah.
And it happens, and that's okay.
There are people that respond very well to hospice treatment to the point where they graduate from hospice.
Yeah.
And, some people have just, their condition has improved, which is kind of remarkable, but I've seen it happen.
Yeah, I have too. And I think part of it too is that, we know stress worsens everything. And sometimes it's like taking the stress off, all of the treatments and all of this, that, and it's almost like it takes that and it gives the body a chance to kind of regroup and, do a little bit of healing, at least for a period of time, however much time that is. So I want to end with, Kimberly, you mentioned earlier when you first started talking about hospice, you used the word hope. So let's end with that. So how do you mean that?
Well, they are not alone. And this is a full team of individuals who can help the family go through this, be a part of this journey. We, as a society, we pay a lot of attention to a lot of different stages of life and planning, whether it's planning for birth, planning for schools, planning for college, et cetera, et cetera. And, this is the part where it's one that isn't something that people get very excited about is planning for the end of life care. Yeah. But with hospice, it's hope because there's a team of people supporting that patient and family. And quality of life is something that is really, that's, the driving force behind the services that are provided. Quality of care, quality of life, so that the patient no longer has to spend whatever time that they have. And it, no one has a
right.
crystal ball,
That's
including
right.
the physician,
That's
with
right.
regards to that, where they don't have to go back and forth to medical appointments, where a team comes to them in their home so that the time that they have is spent with family, really giving them the hope of good and better days, where comfort measures and comfort care is the focus.
It is the ultimate sort of living in the moment.
Exactly.
And I think if you can look at it that way as, sort of like it's living for today, it's living for this hour, it's living for this minute, it's really stopping to smell the roses.
Absolutely.
Living for this visit with my daughter, my son, my spouse, my grandchild, my best friend,
Right.
The bridesmaid from my wedding,
That's
whatever.
right.
I mean, those are just
And
really
it's a gift.
precious.
It truly is a gift to have.
Absolutely
It's difficult when someone has a terminal diagnosis, but to be given the gift of the time to be able to focus on sharing that time with people who are important to them is
Absolutely. That's a beautiful way to end. My guests this morning have been Sean Mitchell and Kimberly O'Connor from The Overlook. So now I have the title correct. We've talked a little bit about visiting Nurse Association VNA and also about hospice. Can one of you give us a phone number if somebody is interested in getting more information? Do we know phone numbers anymore?
Yeah, no.
Everybody's
right?
on speed dial, so nobody even knows their own number.
Nowadays, actually, it would be to go online to get a whole complete thing of the Overlook. It's overlook-mass.org. And you go online and you'll be able to see everything about the continuum itself, from the independent living, assisted living, and locally with the VNA and our hospice.
Right. And both of you are housed, we said off air that both of you are housed, your offices in West Springfield.
Correct.
So it's local for our folks.
Yep.
And people, if you don't have access to online and you would like a phone number, call me at the Senior Center at 562-6435, and I will make sure that I connect you with either Sean or Kimberly or both. And so thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you for having us. It was a pleasure.
Wonderful. We'll see you next week, folks. Third Wednesday of the month, it'll be Jen Jafune, our registered dietitian. We'll be doing Diabetes Dialogue. We'll see you then. Stay healthy.
April gave us springtime and the promise of the flowers and the feeling that we both share and the love that we call ours. We knew no time for sadness. That's a road we each had crossed. We were living a time meant for us. And even when it would rain, we would laugh it off. I've got pieces of April. I keep them in a memory bouquet. I've got pieces of April. It's a morning in May. We stood on the crest of summer, beneath an oak of blossom green, feeling as I did in April, not really knowing what it means, but it must be them that stand beside me now to make me feel this way, just as I did in April, but it's a morning in I've got pieces of April. I keep them in a memory bouquet. I've got pieces of April, but it's a morning in May. pieces of a prayer. I keep them in a memory bouquet. I've got pieces of a prayer. It's a morning in May. It's a morning. It's a morning in May. Just a morning. Just a morning. Just a morning. Morning in May. It's a morning in May. Just a morning. A morning in May. A morning in
Support for the Community